hell, the chap? It is the one and only Mr. B on the Exploded It Show. How is London?
Well, it's not too bad. Not too bad at all, old chap.
I got to tell you, Mr. B, I did not realize you were really British. I thought that you were a character. I thought you were like a wrestler. I thought you were from California.
Well, I'm like a wrestler in many ways, but I am British. Yes, this is me, and yes, this is what I am, I suppose.
Yeah, no shit. Like 5 minutes, or not 5 minutes ago, about 20 minutes ago, when we're prepping for the interview, getting our rig set up, all the recordings and stuff, he's like, "Why do we got to call this? Like, where is he at? If it's midnight his time?" And I was like, "He's in England. He's English." And he's like, "He just the same thing he said to you. I thought he was a wrestler. I thought it was a persona." I was like, "Where the hell do you think he was from?"
Well, I'm sorry to disappoint, but yes, this is true. I am he.
No disappointments. For everybody out there, I guess you probably know more about it than we do. Do you want to give a brief explanation as to what chap hop is and kind of what it is that you do?
Well, I say yes. I'm Mr. B, the gentleman rhymer, and I do chap hop, which is really I'm reconnecting hip hop to manners and the Queen's English and that sort of thing. Really, it's as if you can imagine that, say, Afrika Bambaataa, Chuck D, and perhaps Noel Coward and George Formby, the old English wartime banjolele player, met together, got drunk together in a bar and decided to form a band. This is probably what it does sound like.
That is true. Now, the one thing I got into chap hop, I guess it may be a touchy subject, but from your nemesis, the way it sounds, Professor Elemental?
Yes, indeed, the good professor. Yes. Well, this happens. I think we've helped each other out both ways in that fashion. Lots of people, whoever ends up coming to me first, will end up finding him as well. So we seem to be interminably linked to each other.
Well, yeah. I guess y'all are the two largest or most famous chap hop artists out there, as far as I could find.
I suppose so. I mean, there are others, but we are the chap hop duo, I suppose. Really.
Yeah, sure enough. And again, for everybody out there, I know we're going to talk about chap hop quite a bit this interview, but go check it out, find it, Google it, because it is amazing. It is like, I guess, like it's gentleman rap. It's good sir and how are you in rap though, and it's good rap. It's not like corny or cheesy.
Yes, that's the tricky thing. This is the thing. To doing any sort of hip hop which has any element of novelty about it is a tricky thing. But we're both, me and I have to say, the good professor himself as well, are both, we're both hip hop heads. We both love hip hop. That's what we do. We're not comedians who are trying to take the mickey out of it. We are we are rappers, and and myself being a producer as well and everything like that. So are
you guys Are you guys still beefing? Because like Professor Elemental sent me an email before it started, and it sounded like he was saying that if he were doing the interview, it would be the greatest interview ever. But with you doing the interview, it might be touch and go. It sounds like he was talking some smack, is what it sounded like to me.
Really? Well, he likes that still. We like to keep it up a little bit every now and again. Just keep things a bit fresh. We do. We've got that sort of. We're rivals. Yeah. We're still rivals. We'll always be rivals. But at the same time, we go and have a cup of tea every now and again and have a chat because we're the only people we know with the same job. Similar job.
Y'all aren't Biggie and Tupac rivals, East Coast, West Coast, like taking it out to the streets. You do.
Well, it could be a drive-by gloving or something like that, perhaps.
Now, Mr. B, another thing about you, outside of being like already into a subgenre of its own of chap hop, you also rely heavily on the ukulele, which really surprised me when I first heard you.
Well, indeed, yes. Largely I play the banjolele, which is which is the same thing really, but it's got the banjo drum rather than the guitar-shaped body. But yes, that's this thing that the whole sort of chap hop for me. I'd like to say myself and the professor do argue about who invented chap hop, but I certainly invented the term chap hop.
That's there you go, trademark Mr. B.
Oh yes, exactly. But this is the thing. I think I could have possibly trademarked it, but I don't think it's right to trademark the name of a musical genre because that's just not done really. But yes, no, the ukulele, well, really, Chap Hop was a culmination of lots of other things I'd done before. I'd been in a band playing the banjolele and doing covers and things like that. And I'd been, doing what you may say proper hip hop beforehand. And I was also in what we might call a dandy punk band back in the day called the Schooner Boys. And we used to do songs, punk songs about sort of anarchy, but also about, anarchy via drinking lots of sherry and that sort of thing.
There you go. What better way for an anarchist to end his day other than some good sherry? Okay. Okay. Another question I had for you, because this has been an argument between me and JC as well. As he has stated, he thought you were like a wrestler. This was all a gimmick. Is the mustache real?
Oh, good Lord. Of course it's real.
There you go. I thought so.
Absolutely, yes. No, this does happen occasionally. I learned very early on in Mr. B's career that, I was at a show and this young girl came up to me and she said, "Is that moustache real?" And I said, "Yeah, well, of course it is." She said, "Can I have a little go at it?" And she proceeded to try and tear the thing off of my face, which, it's rather painful.
I too used to rock a quite sizely handlebar mustache, and I got those tugs and pulls, especially, and then a lot of questions about the waxes and how you keep it up. But
yes, there is that. But yes, it's certainly something I do. I always make sure when people do ask, and they, obviously they're in my general physical vicinity, I do say that it is real. So please, if you want to have a go on it, do be very gentle.
There you go.
Now, Mr. B, I wanted to ask you about, because Serial does this, what he calls because he considers himself a gentleman as well, and he has rocked straight razor shaving for like a year. I think he's out of his freaking mind because he's going to kill himself, but do you straight razor shave?
I don't straight razor myself, I have to say. I have to admit that. I don't use an electric razor or something ridiculous like that.
Gentlemen go to the barber.
Of course, I do have a barber that I pop to. If I think that the straight razor shave is an occasional thing, really.
Oh, no.
It's not entirely practical for everyday use. Not that I'm particularly busy, and have places to go all the time and things like that. So, but it's an occasional thing for me.
Oh, there you go. I do suggest you pick up one. It's a hell of a savings on those disposables or whatever you're using. And
this is absolutely true.
And it really does. It's a better shave, and it gets you into it. You feel good about it. You accomplished something first thing in the morning.
Absolutely. I doff my hat to you, I have to say. I really do. That's tremendous. And you know what? I will try and take you up on that, and I'm going to attempt to keep it going myself.
Yep. Just slow and steady at first until you get the hang of it.
I use a Norelco. Is that okay, using a Norelco? Is that cool?
I what there?
I use a Norelco, like a 3. It's got like 75 blades, and I plug it in. Is that cool?
Well, each to their own, old chap. Each to their own.
Okay, I wanted to ask Mr. B some gentleman questions because I think he's, we have a gentleman rhymer. I want to understand the gentleman thing a little bit better. If you had to go, let's bring it back to facial hair for a second. If you had to go beard or mustache, which one is more gentlemanly?
Oh, mustache, of course.
A mustache, and does it have to have the little twirlies on the end?
It doesn't have to have. I mean, obviously, there are numerous moustaches which are appropriate for a gentleman. You can have the spiv moustache, as we call it over here, which is the sort of pencil moustache. That's rather nice. I did once rock one of those myself.
What if you connect the sideburns to the mustache? You make like
the mutton chops. Yes, the Victorian look that can be done. Yes, that's perfectly acceptable, I'd say. Yes, that does the job.
As somebody who likes pipe smoking, what do you think of vaping these days? It's very popular. Is that gentlemanly?
Well, I don't know about that. Although I know you can get there are e-pipes you can buy, can't there? So it's a sort of vaping version. You used to get a nice sort of walnut finished vaping pipe.
Yep.
So
I've seen those.
It's not something necessarily I'd go for, but if you wish to give up smoking but still wish to look like something of a chap, why not?
There you go. And I finally also wanted to ask, this is my final gentleman question. Actually, I got two about what is this? What are pantaloons?
What are pantaloons? I don't know. I think that's, to be honest with you, I think pantaloons are something of a French thing, I think. Nothing to do with me.
Okay, good. Okay.
I'm more of a...
Thank God.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think pantaloons
And what is
a step too far.
I agree with you. Mr. B. Pantaloons are a step too far. What is a dandy?
A dandy. Well, this is the thing. There seems to be a bit of a split between chaps and dandies and things like that. A dandy seems to be a much more, what would you say, a flamboyant version of a chap, I suppose. Someone who's more, sort of wears a bit more velvet. Someone who will quote Byron.
A little more Austin Powers.
Yeah, perhaps a bit more Austin Powers. But Austin Powers in a very kind of, see themselves very much as a sort of romantic, poet or that sort of thing, kind of Oscar Wilde type character. Oscar Wilde's very much a dandy.
What a dandy wear? Would a dandy wear pantaloons? I'm thinking a dandy would wear pantaloons.
A dandy could possibly wear. I mean, a dandy could wear pantaloons. That is true, but I still wouldn't recommend it.
That's all I had for my gentleman question, Serial. You can continue a serious interview. I just had to get my gentleman questions.
No, we're about out of, things.
I thought that was the serious bit.
Yeah, that was the serious part of the interview. We got through the mustaches and the razors and the pants. So
yeah, what
else is there to ask a gentleman outside of that? What is your type of tea, sir? What is your preferred?
I tend to like, I like it obviously early on, an English breakfast tea, and then possibly a gin, and then that's not strictly speaking a tea, but it still does the job. Right. I do like a Lapsang Souchong. I like some of the smoked teas. Lapsang Souchong does the job for me.
Oh, I've never even heard of that. I didn't know smoked teas were a thing, but that sounds delicious.
Yes. It's really very good. I would recommend it. Lapsang Souchong.
Well, I will have to listen back and write that down. Find myself, son.
Hey, do you have any new music coming out soon people can check out? Or what should they check out? How to hear your music?
No, there should be. Well, I'm just in the middle of writing. Unfortunately, I've been slightly sidetracked with, it seems, in the last week or so, of endlessly kind of, I started writing a little song called The 20th of April 2016 about how I rather wish that Prince was still alive. So I recorded my own little version of Darling Nikki, but I seem to have been slightly sidetracked by Prince things at the moment. But once I've got over that for a moment, I'm just in the middle of recording the next Mr. B the Gentleman Rhymer album called tentatively entitled There's a Rumpus Going On, which should be out in the autumn with any luck.
I see here, I'm looking at your wiki as we speak. I see that you dropped a Christmas album last year.
I did.
I didn't even know. I missed it. How was that received?
That was received very well. I toured with it, which is lovely. So it's nice to do a whole show of Christmas songs.
So are they remakes of like classics or like your own new Christmas songs?
These are new Christmas songs. There is, I do the one called The Christmas Song, chestnuts roasting on an open fire.
Okay.
And that sort of thing. But apart from that, there's songs like All I Want for Christmas is an Original Jawa with Vinyl Cape. That's one of them. And what else is there? There's I Saw Your Father Beat a Man to Death in Tesco's, which is the Christmas shopping song. And various ones like that. So, they're very much new pop versions. Now, the thing is, I suppose you maybe not have heard it because I didn't put it on iTunes and things like that. I just bunged it out there sort of on CD and on Bandcamp, on my Bandcamp page. So you can just download it from there.
Oh, yeah. On that note, can you just shout out to everybody? Let people know where they can find you and download your stuff.
Yes, well, there's there's Mr. B Bandcamp page, which is Mr. B as in MRB, Mr. B the Gentleman Rhymer at .bandcamp.com. And I'm at Gentleman Rhymer on Twitter and Instagram, and you can find me on Facebook. If you just Google Mr. B the Gentleman Rhymer, I'm there or thereabouts somewhere.
Oh, there you go.
If somebody's unfamiliar with Chap Hop, what's like a starter song or album they should get of yours?
Oh, well, I suppose a lot of people tend to download off iTunes OG Original Gentleman, which is sort of the compilation of my two original albums, which I sort of slightly deleted due to the fact that a lot of I do a few, old, like the Chap Hop history, the medley and things like that. When I was talking to the royalties companies, they said, well, I would have to speak to every single writer of every single song and negotiate a percentage with each of them. So I thought, okay, let's forget that one for the time being, shall we? So I just collated the original material from the first 2 albums and put them on OG Original Gentleman. But there's those, and there's the Tweed album and Can't Stop, Shan't Stop. There's also my sort of various little side projects off of this, like the Mr. B, the Gentleman Selector's Acid Ragtime Chapstep Volume 1, which is the dance music version.
Yeah, I just read about that, kind of catching up on some research about you for the interview. I'm so excited about finding that.
Wait, why are you doing show prep? Why are you doing show prep right now in the middle of the interview, Cyril?
I came across.
What the fuck?
I came across the dance album thingy, doing the research prior to the interview.
Right, not right now. Yes, of course.
But I forgot to bring it up. That I was like, I got kind of excited when I saw that. That sounds like a lot of fun.
Oh, okay.
Fun. Yes, it's good. I've done a few DJ sets with that now. That's been going down a bit of a storm. So that's, more strings to bows. I've also recorded a couple of mini LPs in the last few months. Just after the Christmas album on Boxing Day, I released an album under the name of The Major, which is slightly more whimsical electronica sort of stuff, but with lots of samples of old British comedy and things like that, and P.G. Woodhouse interviews and that sort of thing. So I've had a couple of sort of mini albums out of that.
Oh, okay.
So there's quite a lot. Yes, plenty going on. There will be a second Chapstep album coming out as well, hopefully in the not too distant future.
You mentioned
lots going on.
You mentioned a little bit about whimsical and whatnot, and samples. What were you into growing up? Were you like a Fawlty Towers, a Monty Python, a Blackadder kind of guy, or what were you really into, like comedy wise?
Oh, well, all 3 of those, absolutely.
Because those are the only 3 I know. So
there were numerous. I mean, there's numerous other things like I don't know if you know of The Young Ones, which was and the Comic Strip Presents, which is. There's Rick Mail and Adrian M. I don't know if you know of Rick Mail. He actually died a couple of years ago, which is rather sad. He was only 50-something.
No, I do not.
No, but it was sort of slightly anarchic comedy about a group of students living in a student house, and they'd have do you know this thing? And they'd have guest bands like Motorhead would turn up and suddenly play.
Is that the guy that played Dead Fred?
It was Drop Dead Fred, dude.
Dead Fred, yes, I recognize his face.
Yes, indeed, yes.
Oh,
the thing
he died.
Was sort of 11. Yes, he did.
That's sad.
Which is terribly sad. Yeah, we were all rather upset about that over here because he was a very, very funny and slightly, he was something of a lunatic, but
that's exactly what I grew up on though. Like Drop Dead Fred was one of my favorites, as well as everything else I named. But that style, for some reason, I really aligned myself with the English deadpan humor, the kind of offbeat humor, and it's just something that stuck with me over the time.
Well, that's nice. Well, obviously, I mean, I really, I've loved Seinfeld and things like that for years, and there is a slight, of course, a difference between the humour of the sort of British humour and a lot of American stuff. But at the same time, you get things like Tim and Eric and things like that. And those sort of things, which I think America seems to have almost gone round in a circle towards the sort of Monty Python end of things, with that sort of really out there, bizarre comedy.
Yeah, and really in the past 5 years, it really has come that way. And even in our commercials now, the Tim and Eric style, non-sequential kind of actions have taken over.
Yes. Well, that sounds interesting. I mean, things like, and I loved, Dr. Steve Brule and that sort of thing.
Yeah, I just showed JC that the other day.
Okay. Have you seen Bag Boy, his sitcom?
No, I have not. JC?
That's something worth a look. It's Steve Brule's. It's the one-off sitcom pilot written, directed by and starring Dr. Steve Brule, and it's really quite something.
I'm going to have to check that out. Hey, on the rap thing, I just wanted to know, while we're doing, influences for rap music, who influenced you in the hip-hop world?
Well, I mean, I have to say I'm a real fan. I tend to be a big fan of the genesis of almost anything, and I love. I was over in New York a couple of years ago, and I tried to search out Cool Herc. I did find someone who was a friend of his, but I didn't find him in the end. But yes, I do love all the very early sort of things. Obviously, Cool Herc never recorded anything, but he sort of pretty much invented it. And I do a little, when I introduced the Chap Hop History medley, I always talk about how hip hop was invented effectively in about 1973 when DJ Cool Herc put a party on at 1520 Sedgwick Avenue in the Bronx. But the thing I like about that story most is that DJ Cool Herc, who's known as the godfather of hip hop, his real name is in fact Clive, which I think is rather an un-hip hop name. It's always a very British name. Probably because he's from Jamaica originally, which was a British colony. So he's taken a very sort of British name of Clive, and yes, gone and invented hip hop. But yes, lots of that. And I mean, I like all the three main golden ages, I suppose, which being the very original, the Grandmaster Flash, and that sort of thing. And then I suppose the second golden age being the Def Jam years of Cool J and the Beastie Boys and Public Enemy, and then the sort of early 90s phase, which also featured the Beastie Boys, but yes, numerous other people like that.
That's what I would call like the true hip hop, because hip hop used to be like about telling stories and I went to a party and this and that. And today's hip hop is more like what they call hip hop. I don't feel like is what hip hop is. There needs to be a new genre, a new name made up for it, because it's not telling stories. It's not about going to the party and getting the girl or driving on a good Sunday with your buddies. It's a whole different genre now, I think. They've moved away from what it used to be.
Absolutely. I think there's numerous, I think, reasons for that being. I mean, for starters, the whole problem with sampling and things like that meant that the musical backing often became a bit dull.
Yes.
Because, people, you could only be able to have a huge record contract and a label behind you that would pay to clear samples and what have you. And also the fact that the major labels have realised the bits of hip-hop that they feel that they can sell, which is not certainly any bits of hip-hop which are saying anything particularly. They're not the things that they would wish to sell to anybody. But, there's lots of very, very good stuff out there still, but unfortunately it doesn't really get heard in the mainstream in the way that things used to be.
I guess we'll start wrapping it up, but I had one more question. It sounds like you do know quite a bit about record labels and like the industry. Are you currently are you with a major label or?
No. I'm. Well, this is it. I've been doing music. I've been in numerous other bands and whatnot. I was in a band that we were signed, and we had a sort of minor hit single over here back in the 90s. So I do know, I suppose, a fair amount in a way about dealings with major record labels and what have you, and which is the very reason why I do things entirely independently now.
Well, that's the way to do it nowadays. I mean, we were ex-radio guys who didn't like being told what to do, so we went independent, and that's just a podcast now, so it's radio for free on the internet. And
excellent.
So it's the same thing. Like the corporate structure is the thumb on your head that tells you who you can be and what creatively you can do. Kind of got old, so we just ex-nayed and got out of the business.
That's great. Yeah, that's perfect, really. And I think that's obviously, the thing is, the great thing about the internet is that anything you do can be heard by anybody anywhere. But unfortunately, so can everybody else's thing that they're doing. So,
there's definitely a saturation.
We're all battling things. But I think if we do something that's has an air of uniqueness about it, or is a little different, things can work for us. It's hopefully you would hope that the quality would shine through. That's of course not.
The cream rises to the top is I think the gist of it.
You would hope so.
Well, JC,
at first, and then that's what'll happen at first, and then Mr. B, we're all just going to have our own fucking reality shows, and that's going to be a weird day, man.
Very curious.
The United States is about to elect our first reality star president, and so it's all down the tubes from here, Mr. B.
This is true. Well, this is how the revolution starts. So we have to go. It has to get to a certain point when people just think, okay, let's not just look at cats anymore. Let's actually do something, shall we? because things have gone a little bit far.
So,
All right, so yeah, go ahead.
Real fast, Mr. B. Are you a Trump fan or like a Cruz, or where do you stand on American politics? Because it is something we like to talk about a lot.
Right. Well, I have to say, I wouldn't say I was much of a Trump fan.
I was really hoping to get the Trump endorsement from Mr. B, the gentleman rhymer.
Yes. Sadly not. No, I don't think I'll be endorsing that. Mind you, that's the thing is, Cruz, obviously, this is the thing now with that end of that spectrum is that you've got Trump, who's just a lunatic who says whatever he wants, and then you've got Cruz, who's a lunatic who says everything he wants but believes it at the same time.
that is a good way to put it. Plus, he's possibly the Zodiac killer.
This is possibly the case. Yes.
Where can people, one last time, Mr. B, where can people go check out all your stuff? Give the Twitter and the website again.
Yes, it's at Gentleman Rhymer on Twitter and on Instagram and what have you. And, I can't remember what I think it's Mr. B, the Gentleman Rhymer on Facebook, but you can find me there anyway. Or just gentlemanrhymer.com is the website, so you can find me on there. And I'm on iTunes and what have you. I believe I should be on Spotify somewhere. I'm sure I'm on there somewhere, but who knows?
Check him out. Give him a listen. It is Mr. B, the Gentleman Rhymer, here on the Exploded Show. Hang on a second. I'm going to see if you can cut something for the show for us later. But thank you so much for joining us, man. We appreciate it.
Absolute pleasure. Absolute pleasure. Maybe I'll go to bed now. It's 12:30. Well, no, I'll have a cup of tea first.
Cheerio.
Yeah, cheers.
Cheerio and pip pip.